Today we are traveling back to the golden age of Hollywood. Come join us. Bunny, hit the old-timey movie button. Welcome to this episode of the Entertainment Jungle. Let's see who we have on the show today. We have Quackrin.
Hi.
Number 66.
Hello there.
And Ryan the Lion.
How's it going?
So today, we are talking about the new Netflix movie, Mank. It is rated R, directed by David Fincher. It is written by Jack Fincher, which is David's father, actually. Stars Gary Oldman, Amanda Seyfried, Lily Collins. This is pretty much 1930s Hollywood reevaluated through the eyes of a scathing social critic and an alcoholic screenwriter named Herman J. Mankiewicz as he races to finish the screenplay for the iconic movie Citizen Kane. And I want to know right off the bat, what are some overall thoughts on this movie? We'll start with Ryan the Lion. What do you think?
So I think that this is a movie for people that love the film industry.
That's what I said.
And I think that if you are not a true lover of the film industry, it might be a bit of a tough watch because it is essentially just the story of a man told in a very unique way and about as one of the most iconic films in movie history. But overall, I enjoyed it. It might be a little tough for a lot of people, though.
I can see where you're coming from. Quackrin, what about you? Some overall thoughts on the movie Mank?
So, I've never seen Citizen Kane. I don't know much about anyone in this movie. I think if I had some background on the people that this movie was about, I would think it was really, really cool. As someone that doesn't, I thought it was well done. But I don't know if I'd be excited to watch it again.
This movie, I will agree with you, had tons of name dropping. But if you don't know anything about 1930s Hollywood or old Hollywood, you don't know any of the names that they were dropping. So I can see where you're coming from.
Yeah.
66, some overall thoughts? What did you think?
Yeah, I'm kind of on board with Quackrin and Ryan the Lion. There were some things about this movie that I really enjoyed. However, I felt that I needed to do a lot of research to really enjoy this movie because I'm not very well versed in those names, as you said, and that time in history for movie making. So I feel like if you are into that, it's awesome. It would be amazing, and I feel like I would really love it. But I did not do any research beforehand, and I found myself honestly a little bit lost throughout a lot of this movie.
I can see where you're coming from. I have seen Citizen Kane, and I love Citizen Kane. I do know a lot about old Hollywood, and I was still a little lost, but that didn't take me out of it, because once I finally saw where they were going with it, I did like it. And I say this all the time in a negative connotation, but this movie checked all the boxes for me. It was about old Hollywood. It was a biography. It was, about making a movie. It was literally everything that I kind of like in a movie. And it didn't let me down, but it was kind of exactly what I expected, and I was okay with that. I 100% agree with Ryan the Lion. I call this a movie for Hollywood insiders. If you knew what was going on, you were going to love it. But that leads me into one of my first questions was, could you follow the plot at all? Because this was told in flashbacks, and it was also told, the process of writing. I didn't realize what the flashbacks were trying to tell me until 30 minutes before the movie was over.
I agree. I would say that, kind of like you said, like by the end, I understood what was going on, but along the way, it was definitely unclear. Like I knew it was intentional. I knew that at some point, or at least I assumed at some point it would make sense, but it almost seemed like it was intentionally left ambiguous and confusing. And I think that in the end, there's a payoff, but I don't know if it's enough of a payoff for you to have been left confused throughout.
I kind of agree with that. Once the payoff happened, I'm like, oh, I get it. But it wasn't like, oh my God, I get it. Did you also like the fact that it was shot in black and white and the style of the movie? To me, the style of the movie transported me right to 1930s Hollywood. It felt like I was watching that movie of that time.
So, as I was watching this, I'm just thinking in my head, like, this is a Cornelius movie. But I was happy for you. I was like, he's going to have a lot of good things to say about this movie. But I mean, at the same time, as I'm watching it, I'm like, but do I want to watch this movie? The fact that it was black and white was immediately like, oh, I'm not going to be paying attention. Like, which is a shame. It's like, I wish I wasn't that way, but as soon as it was black and white, I was like, there's the whole movie? It's not gonna be like Wizard of Oz me? Like, yeah, no, I don't know. Not my style.
That's too funny, Quackman, because I actually loved that it was shot in black and white and really brought the viewers back to that late 30s, early 40s time. I mean, it was, accurate to movies of that time period. So that's something that I actually loved about it.
You're not the only person. I've had many conversations with people who are like, oh, it's all in black and white. Like, that immediately takes them out of it. I don't know why. This one was done well, but I can see where you're coming from.
We're spoiled to live life in color.
Yeah. See, I agree with Cornelius at number 66. Yeah. I enjoyed the choice to do it in black and white. It definitely helped, especially when you realize, and this is something that I only realized about halfway through, that the character of Mank and Amanda Seyfried's character are supposed to be the same age.
Really?
And I think that filming in black and white really helped try to at least mask that he is more than twice her age.
And I also thought it was funny, there was a moment in the movie where they showed you the behind the scenes of making a movie, and it was just like work. It wasn't, we think of this as the golden age of Hollywood where they were putting art on the screen, and there were these guys chain smoking, like, go to the next shot. So I thought that was like an interesting take on what we thought of maybe the golden age of Hollywood. Do you think this person, Herman J. Mankiewicz, who is one of the most influential writers in early Hollywood, I mean, if you look up his credits, he's uncredited for helping on The Wizard of Oz. He wrote It's a Wonderful Life, and then The Pride of the Yankees, and then obviously this movie, Citizen Kane. So do you think his life is worth a movie? Seems like an alcoholic screenwriter.
I did think it was interesting because obviously he did create some very impressive works, but I don't know that his life was that interesting. Like you said, it was kind of like alcoholic screenwriter. Like, yeah, we've seen this a million times before. Like, maybe he's one of the reasons that we've seen it a million times, but at this point, we've already seen it.
Yeah, he could have been the first.
Yeah.
I was more impressed how he did it at all, to be honest with you. It even said he wrote 213 pages in 13 days. I don't even know if I could read 213 pages in 13 days. Does anyone have anything specific, positive or negative they wanted to bring up about this movie?
Yeah, I mean, besides the music and the way that it was shot, my favorite parts were when they actually went behind the scenes of the actual writing and filming process. Like, for example, when Mank went on the set, and he was obviously inebriated when he went on the set, but this was earlier in the movie, and the lady was getting burnt at the stake, and the people were, riding in on horses, and they were filming it with that track. I thought it was really cool to see the behind-the-scenes aspect. Like, that's the stuff that I would much rather have seen, is how they made the movie of Citizen Kane, and not the struggles of the writers of Citizen Kane. The heads of those studios really pissed me off. You know what I mean? Like that's part of the movie that really got under my skin. But so I really liked that depiction of the behind the scenes aspect.
It's funny you say that because one of my favorite characters actually was the guy that played Louis B. Mayer. But I did like how they showed you kind of the head of a studio who was not this, golden icon that people looked up to. He was kind of a hard ass. He was kind of like, this is my family. Like, everyone takes a pay cut but me.
Cutthroat.
Right. Literally, that was one of my least favorite parts, and it made me so angry.
I thought the acting was good, and I thought some of the dialogue, like the witty dialogue, was really fun. I mean, sometimes it went on a little too much.
Agreed.
But there were certainly some good lines in there that I enjoyed.
Hollywood, I will, not to spoil it, did like this one. IMDb gave this an average of 7.5. The critics on Rotten Tomatoes gave it an 88%, and the audience score was a 73%. Let's start with Quackrin. We know you had some issues with it, but what's your banana rating out of 10?
All right, I'm going to give it a 5.5. I think it was probably a good movie if I was into that kind of thing. For someone who wasn't into that kind of thing, I feel like I need to watch it a second time, and will probably change my rating to a higher rating. But until I do that, I'm going to keep it at 5.5 for now.
I think that's fair based on some of your critiques of the movie so far.
I think it's very fair.
That's better than I expected, actually.
Actually, it was a little better than I expected as well. 66.
You know, it's tough to rate this movie as Quackrin just expressed.
Yeah.
If you're rating this movie for your own experience, which is what I have to do, I felt a little bit lost a lot of these things. I basically knew after the first 30 minutes that this was not a movie for me. However, if you're not like a self-proclaimed historian of film, you're going to get lost, and then that's what happened to me. So for me, it wasn't for me. I'm going to give it a 4.5. Not to say it was bad. It's just I would never watch this again.
Ryan Align, how about you?
Like I said, I enjoyed this movie. I had a hard time giving it a very high rating just because kind of the things that we touched on, that sometimes scenes went on longer than was necessary. It was confusing just for the sake of being confusing at times. I think that it definitely had a lot of really cool, good things going on, but I think it could have possibly benefited just from being a little bit shorter. But overall, I'm going to give this 7 bananas.
I'm on the higher range, but probably not as high as you think. I love history, especially Hollywood history. I thought this movie was very stylized, but I like that. It kept my interest, but it was a little confusing. I'm going to give it a 7.5. It's just a little bit higher. I'll just sum up what everybody said. If you like history in Hollywood and you want to know a little bit more about the person that wrote Citizen Kane, go see it. But if you're maybe not interested in any of those topics, probably steer clear of this one. Now, tell us what you thought. Leave a comment, like, subscribe, and come back anytime and join the conversation. You're always welcome here at the Entertainment Jungle.
Quack you next time.
I apologize for my voice, everyone, but it's what you get.